Hello chess fans, this is Rick from Chess to Progress with number 46 in this series, Viewers Games. This one is from Brian from the USA, and Brian writes, this game was from a USCF tournament on September 30th, 2017 in Austin, Texas. It was an open section. I was rated 10-17 and my opponent Justin was 13-15. This was the first game of the tournament and I actually won the remainder of my games and improved my rating to 11-13. Well done, Brian. My two young sons and I just started playing in tournaments within the last year. Let's look at Brian's game. So it was an over the board game. Brian was white and he opened with d4. Knight f6 from his opponent and f3. Not a bad move at all, but it occupies the natural square for the knight. And it's clear that Brian is a junior player with a rating of 1000, although he improved that in this tournament to 1100. And then I would say that is on move 2 already a recommendation to play more simple, more mainline openings. The opening that Brian chooses here with 2f3 is not easy to play for white, so I would say play mainline openings, just play c4 on the second move and then get your pieces out. That is probably a better option for somebody at your level, Brian. But okay, let's see how it goes. f3 is not a bad move. g6 from black and e4. And that is the point of the previous moves, because now this pawn is protected. Attacked by the knight, but protected by the pawn. d6 from black, knight c3 from Brian, bishop g7, bishop e3, knight bd7, queen d2, and black played c5, attacking white center. Brian plays d5, knight e5, and Brian castles queenside, bishop d7, and now knight ge2. White has to play energetically to make sure black cannot start activity on the queen side with white's king there. A better move would have been f4, kicking the knight, knight eg4, and then for example h3, kicking the knight again. The knight then takes on e3, queen takes, then for example black castled, and white plays e5. He needs to keep black busy in the center and on the king side to make it more difficult for black to start rolling his pawns and getting his pieces in an attack against white's king. Knight ge2 does not really do that, which was the move played by Brian. So f4, for example, would have been a better move to quickly get going with activity in the center. Knight ge2, of course, is not a terrible move at all. It's developing a piece, but as I said, this opening is quite difficult to play for white. Black played a6, knight f4 from Brian, and b5. Brian said in his email that he thought he lost the battle in the opening, and in some way he did. Black's attack on white's king plays itself, while white's counterplay on the king side and in the center takes a lot of effort. Black's play is much easier here, and he gets a very strong attack against white's castled king. Brian played knight ce2, knight c4, attacking the queen, and the queen went to c3. Queen d3 is probably better, and that's another thing. Queen c3 puts itself into the range of the bishop on g7, and that is possible sometimes. Of course, the bishop is also unprotected on g7, so white can get away with it, but you need a very good reason to put your queen on a diagonal of another bishop in the firing line, so to say. So queen d3 is a more logical move. After queen c3, black took on e3, queen takes, and queen a5. Black is going to attack white's king. Black is now attacking the pawn on a2, and king b1 is the best move here to keep the pawn formation as solid as possible in front of white's king and not give black any hooks. Brian did give his opponent a hook. He played a3. This pawn is now a hook, as we call it in chess, and black immediately uses the hook. He plays b4, putting pressure on that pawn to open up the position around white's king. Queen d2, very good move for a player with a rating of 1000. This pawn is now pinned. So the pawn cannot take because then the queen is lost. Good move, Brian. Queen a4 to deal with that problem. And g4. Brian recognizes that he needs counterplay, otherwise he will get destroyed on the queen side. But white's play is too slow. Here black took. Queen c3. Black already has a winning attack. Brian had probably seen that he cannot take back on a3 because then he gets checkmated. Queen takes, king b1 only move, and mate in 2, rook b8 check, and all you can do is interpose your queen, and rook takes b4 is checkmate. So after b takes a3, white cannot take back, and as I said, queen c3 was played, but a2, and white cannot prevent that pawn from queening. Brian played b3, attacking black's queen, but a1 queen goes with check, so white does not have time to take the queen on a4. Queen takes, king d2, black is now a queen up. Queen a5 check, king c1, rook b8, and rook d3. Queen a1 check, king d2, queen a5 check, a move repetition, king c1, and c4. Brian took that pawn, and now the quickest win for black is the nice move knight takes e4, opening up this bishop diagonal. If you take, then rook b1 check, king takes, and queen a1 is a nice checkmate. After b takes e4, black played queen e1 check, which is also more than enough to win this game. Rook d1 only move, and rook b1 check. King takes, queen takes. This is actually a tactical motif that you also can see in the daily challenge that I do on Chess to Impress. It's number 37. You may want to check out that 1 minute challenge. Number 37, you see the same tactical motif we just saw. King b2, knight takes d5 check. It's the bishop that gives check to the king. King b3, and there's a mate in 2 on the board now. Queen b1 check, king a3, and Brian got checkmated with queen b2 checkmate. This bishop is taking the a4 square away. Brian writes, by the way, my opponent was 8 years old. Like I tell my sons, there's no shame in losing to a better player, especially if you learn something from it. So with that in mind, I can't wait to hear your opinion on this game. Thank you very much, and keep up the great Chess to Progress channel. Thank you, Brian. And yes, black played this very well. Very impressive for an 8-year-old. He recognized he had to play on the queen side against your castled king, and his attack was a lot quicker than yours. As you can see from the final position, black's king is not even castled. He didn't have to do that. And your counterplay through the center and on the king side is still a long way from becoming something substantial. I'll repeat my main comment about this game, Brian. I think you played a difficult opening, not a bad opening, but a difficult opening for white. And you gave black a free hand on the queen side, and you had to really react quickly going through the center to distract black from that attack, and that didn't work out. So I would say try a more solid opening, a more mainline opening, instead of that f2, f3 on the second move. And develop your pieces, put your king safe, preferably on the king side, and then you will probably not be destroyed like you were in this game. Black played it very well. But you did very well as well, Brian, winning all your remaining games and winning 100 rating points in that tournament. Very impressive. Hope you enjoyed Brian's game, Brian's adventure. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the Chess to Progress channel. Please leave a comment, and if you liked the video, it would be great if you could share it on social media. You also may want to check out my Chess to Impress channel. The link is in the description box, as well as a link to that 1 minute daily challenge on the tactical motif that we saw in Brian's game. This is Rick for Chess to Progress. Thank you for watching.